Kail Lowry's father seems to be slowly dying, according to Kail herself. In today's episode of the Karma and Chaos podcast, she spoke about how he has been battling COPD and is currently in hospice care. So COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and it is a common lung disease that causes restricted airflow and breathing problems. It is sometimes called emphysema or chronic bronchitis. And in people with COPD, the lungs can get damaged or clogged with phlegm. Symptoms include cough, sometimes phlegm, difficulty breathing, wheezing, and tiredness. And so smoking, air pollution are the most common causes of COPD as well. So, people can live years after being diagnosed with this. However, in the case of her father, it is not looking too good. And Kail is trying to grapple with her complicated feelings around him and, the way that he was a deadbeat in her life and the things that she wants and needs for him before he ultimately does pass away. And it made for a really interesting episode of the show, I have to say. And so she did add some humor to it. She says that she is joining her dad is about to go from deadbeat dad minus the beat, right? So just dead dad, essentially. And so she was saying that she's going to join Becky and their other friend in the Dead Dads Club. Like, it was kind of like, what this episode kind of reminded me of? That book from Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Like, that's the whole vibe. So Kail, because we know you like to watch, girl. Hey, boo. If you haven't already, I do recommend that you read that book by Jeanette McCurdy. I am glad that my mom died, because I do think that that's something that you could find relatable in your particular situation, right? So why don't we go ahead, listen to Kail talk about her father's health, what she's about to do, and how she even found out about what's going on with him, and how her mother, Boozy Susie, ties into all of this. Once again, if you're enjoying today's episode of The Morning Report, please don't hesitate to go ahead and give it a thumbs up so YouTube knows you enjoy my content. And let's take a listen.
I have a small update for anyone that's listening and cares. I am joining the Dead Dads Club. Raymond has COPD stage 4. So I know you're in the Dead Dads Club and Kristen's a part of the Dead Dads Club. And so I will be joining that as well.
Do you feel like you're already a part of it?
Yeah. Yeah, because he's deadbeat. So same thing, but now he's minus the beat.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
How are we feeling?
Conflicted. I feel conflicted. I feel it's like layered. It was sent to me in the weirdest way. I had sent my cousin money for something, and then her sister called me and was like, don't send her money. And then she told my aunt, which is my dad's sister, and my dad's sister sent me a message and was like, hey, like, I know your heart was in the right place, but like, don't do that. And then in the same exact message, it was just an FYI, your father has stage 4 COPD. He's on hospice. So it was like all the same message. And so it's layered in that, like, obviously I don't have a relationship with him and never did, but I feel like I didn't ever get the answers that I've been looking for, sort of. Mm-hmm. And in 2019, I believe it was, I sent him a message asking him if he would take a DNA test. And he told me he would. And then I sent him one, and then he refused to take it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I feel like you don't get to die without answering all the questions I have, and without like,
is that one of the questions? Like, what kind of questions do you have for him?
I want to know why he left. I want to know why he didn't try harder. I want to know why he just gave up. I want to know why he didn't just give up on me, but then he turned around and did the same thing to my sister. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my sister never really had answers. And, my sister has her own, what she was told, and I don't necessarily believe what she was told, but that's her experience. And I feel like he owes both of us explanations for why she was even told that, what she was told. And so, I don't know, I'm like mad at him. I also never got to meet any of my siblings from the Philippines. Like, I know that'll never happen. Not that it would have happened if he was staying here.
Does he know them?
I mean, I don't know if he does. I didn't need for them either.
Isn't that crazy that her dad became a passport bro? He's like, you know what? I've already got all these kids in the United States that I do not care for. Why don't I go ahead to the Philippines and make some more? Like, the guy was so just Wow. Truly, truly, truly just such a, oof, I don't even know what the words are for it. And by the way, Becky has some very serious words for Kail's father that you're going to hear about a little bit later on in this podcast episode, because, you know, again, the conversation was just so deep and so nuanced that I don't want to kind of relay or miss any words or anything like that. I really want you guys to hear it exactly from them. But it was a very, very interesting conversation nonetheless. And, you know, a lot of you guys, and, you know, I had the exact same reactions as you guys when she mentioned the DNA test thing, right? I said, he's your twin. Like, what would you need a DNA test for, right? Like, you guys are all kind of like freaking out over that. But she is going to explain what it is for. Like, she knows that her dad is her dad, right? Like, there's no denying that. However, her dad, there's something about his own paternity that is in question that she wants to get to the bottom of. And, you know, as far as why that affects her so much and whatnot, you're going to hear that straight from her mouth. So let me go ahead and play the rest of her kind of, you know, talking about this situation. Then we'll come back and have some more discussions. I'll get into some of you guys' questions in the live chat.
Know how someone walks through this earth and does the bare minimum to like get by in life and like you procreated multiple times and you don't care. Like, I just want to know where your head is at. I want to know how you walked through this earth doing the bare minimum and didn't give a fuck about anything, not just us, but like just in general.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, that's just like a hard place to try to navigate. And we kind of talked about this, but like, my fear is that the answers aren't going to matter. Like, that's like my biggest fear for you is that it'll either make it worse, but I know that you want to at least try to get some type of closure in that, which you can't, like, I can't blame anyone for. What are you going to do?
I think I'm going to go see him. The first and last time I saw him.
Where is he?
He's in Dallas. The first and last time I saw him was 2009. So I was 17 and I was pregnant.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And my sister's conflicted. She texted me this morning. She said, I'll let you know I'm super conflicted. I do know I'll go to his funeral, I think. I'm not sure if Raymond would be able to talk because seeing COPD firsthand, it literally takes everything in you to talk and breathe. I'm also conflicted because I don't want to not go and regret it later. So I'll think on it.
I don't think that there's a right answer. I don't think that there's a wrong answer. I do, however, have feelings. I mean, obviously you are a parent. I think it's a lot more like present in my mind of like, I don't understand how someone can just kind of walk away from like having a child and the responsibilities of having a child and doing it multiple times. And like, I don't know, that just like, it just shows so much of like his character of like just being okay with having kids and not caring. But I also don't know, like, is that this mentality that he has, or is the mentality like kids are better off without him in it?
What he said to me when I was 17, he said, I knew you'd come find me one day. Like, if you wanted to, you would come find me. That was his mentality.
Yeah, I fear you're not going to get any answers from him, but I do think that you need to do what you need to do to.
It's just like, it pisses me off because I don't want to give him the satisfaction of like, oh, my daughter came to see me. Like, you don't deserve that. So that's where I'm also like, you don't get to die without giving me answers, but I also don't want you to I don't want to give him the satisfaction of like, I still came through at the end of it all.
I can understand that, but I don't know if he'll feel like that.
No, he's so nonchalant about everything. Like, he's so,
Do you think that maybe you can ask someone that does talk to him to ask him some questions first, or to see if he's even willing to answer questions? I'd hate to see you get there and then not even have the opportunity. Like, it is like your sister said, like, he can't even talk.
No, she's not saying he can't talk. She doesn't know if he can.
No, yeah, I know. So like finding out if that's even a possibility, or finding out if someone can just ask him if he'd be willing to have a conversation or answer questions. Because,
or take the fucking DNA test. Like, you're essentially on your deathbed. Take the fucking DNA test.
Yeah.
Literally just take it. Because I think before he was like willing to do it, and then it was, no, he's not willing to do it.
Do you have a reason that you think that he isn't?
No, I know he's my father, but I know his father is not his father. And he doesn't know that. And my aunt doesn't know that. But my sister and I figured it out through Ancestry.com.
So there you go, you guys. For those of you who are wondering what the DNA test situation was all about, it's because Raymond Lowry isn't technically a Lowry. The man who he believes is his father has the last name Lowry. However, that man is not actually his real father. And so Kail wants to go and find this stuff out, to figure out who the real father is, because, this changes everything for her, right? She's like, wait, this whole time I thought I was Kail Lowry, but who am I, right? If my own father isn't technically a Lowry. But here's the thing. If somebody decided to assume responsibility for Raymond Lowry as their own child, whether or not he's biologically a Lowry or whatever, like he still is one, right? Because that's what the person decided to do, to raise him as if he were his own son. So I hope that even if she doesn't get the DNA test from him, like she's able to understand that, that's the thing. Sometimes people adopt, right? Or whether it's a legal thing or not, or like, people just step in as step parents or whatever. And that person still belongs to that family, which means that, as his offspring, Kail too is still a Lowry, right? I kind of get the feeling that she's spiraling a lot here, and I do hate that for her, I gotta admit. So she does still have a lot more to say about this, but I want to get into you guys' comments because you guys are leaving a lot of great comments in the live chat. I'll get into a couple of them, and then we'll play some more of the episode, and then I'll come back to you guys again. And for those of you watching the playback, shout out to my playback posse. Feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section, and we'll get back to you over there as well. Okay. So Minnie says, is that a good book for anyone? So I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy is a really, really good book. I personally enjoyed it because, I liked her a lot as an actress on television. So to learn that all this stuff was happening to her in the background was really, really just, wow, shocking to me. And it's just, honestly, like many people have complicated relationships with their parents, right? And so to hear somebody else talk about it openly, like, there's something kind of like affirming about that. Even if your own relationship with your parents is not that complicated to where you would say something like that or feel that way, there's still something very like interesting about hearing other people's own relationships with their parents. Just as besides her episodes of 16 and Pregnant, has she seen her dad? So no, that was the first and last time that she has seen her father, right? And so both times in her life that she's going to see her father, it has to be her to take the step, take the responsibility as his child to go and see him. And again, I find that to be absolutely devastating and unfair. Lynn says, my dad has lung disease from asbestos. He is fine now, but it's scary. Not knowing is scary. And I'm really sorry to hear about your father, and I can only imagine, right? And so I'm just hoping and praying that everything turns out well for him and for your family as well, because that cannot be easy to go through. Singer Savannah says, I understand. I have a complicated relationship with my dad too. Listen, girl. Oh, I get it. Honestly, it's tough. It's tough. Family dynamics are tough in general, right? So, again, I am really happy that Kail opened up about this on her podcast, because that's something that's been frustrating to me as somebody who listens to her podcast, is that I feel like lately she hasn't really been talking about things going on in her real life. We're hearing about stupid random things, right? But like nothing about like the stuff that's making the news, right? About what's going on with her various baby daddies and like, just other things, her friendships and whatnot. But now she's getting real about a subject that like, affects so many of us in the world, right? So I think it's really interesting to hear her open up about it. Minnie says, I bet she would make a podcast out of this if he was able to answer her questions. Yup. And I think that this goes with what Tripp was saying, actually, which is that she would go over there with a recorder, slip it under the covers or something like that, or under his pillow, and ask him 1,000,001 questions, and then just kind of like air that as its own kind of like special. Maybe it's going to be one of those specials that you have to pay for over on Patreon or something like that, Everything's about money with this girl. Winnie the cat says, Kail definitely inherited his overwhelming need to procreate. Exactly. It kind of clicked for me when you said that. In her defense, though, at least she cares for her offspring and she raises them and everything like that. This guy doesn't really know anything about his kids, where they're at or whatever. But at least she does that. And what's crazy to me is that the women he procreated with in the United States, they gave these kids like his name somewhere. Like his name is Raymond. And so they shortened Raymond to Ray. He wanted all of his kids to have Ray as their middle name. And these girls did it. I was like, oh my God, not y'all carrying his name. Oh, and they gave the kids his last name too. Oh, Lord have mercy. Y'all know how I feel about that stuff, so I'm not going to get into it anymore. Winnie the cat says, I highly doubt his answers will satisfy her. And that's the thing. And that is something that Becky was trying to tell her in this episode as well. And you're going to see why Becky says that. And I do think that Becky certainly has a point. And Brandon says, just so you know, I never miss a replay and Kail is exhausting. Well, listen, Brandon, thanks so much for being a part of the playback posse. That is so nice of you. And she absolutely is. I can admit to that. But, again, I really, really did like what she was talking about in this episode, because I think that it can help a lot of people, and it can be really, really, really relatable to a lot of people. And I agree, Raven, like, they are twins. So at first, when she was saying that, I was like, girl, that can't, no, like, that's your daddy. But then when she explained a little bit more that she wanted to know who her father's real father was, that's when things got really, really interesting. As says, I listened to it on Audible and it was interesting. Exactly. You guys can listen to it on Audible. So this is a Jeanette McCurdy book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Or if you have Spotify Premium, you have free access to audiobooks as well. So if you want to listen to that over there too, you can listen to that over there as well. Kaylin says, I think DNA is only needed for health/medical reasoning. Otherwise, I agree. That's his dad. Exactly. So he is a Lowry at the end of the day. I understand the curiosity, but he's still a Lowry, even if it's not a biological thing, right? Good morning, Mocha Madness. Nice to see you. And good morning to everybody else joining us as well. It is so nice to see y'all here. Hey, Miss T. Hey, everybody. So nice to have y'all here. So right now we're listening as Kail talks to us about what's going on with her father. Her father is currently in hospice care, battling stage 4 COPD, which stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And they're not super sure about like where he's at, if he's still able to speak or anything like that. But Kail absolutely wants to get certain answers from him about his paternity, right? Like who his actual father is and everything. So he had initially agreed to take a paternity test in the past, or a DNA test. She sent him the DNA kit and he refused to actually go ahead and take it. And now she says, listen, with you on your deathbed, please do me this one thing. You were a deadbeat dad to me. Just give me this one thing. And so watch as she continues to unpack her complicated feelings towards him with her Karma and Chaos co-host, Becky Hayter.
So what does that do?
Well, we would have a whole other family that we don't
know about.
Mm-hmm. Like we should be Morris instead of Lowry. What
an interesting life that comes about anytime I talk to you.
Yeah. So there's that.
How do you feel emotionally?
Like, should I like message Susie and tell her also, hey, my dad's dying? She blocked me on Facebook though.
If you want to open that can of worms,
well,
I think that
I went on Alessandra's Facebook and found her because I was blocked. So Alessandra was like, I can send her your number.
Do you want to talk to her?
No, but do I tell her that her ex-husband's dying?
Why would she care?
They created a life together.
I don't know, man. Hello? I just have a hard time empathizing with
Susie Q.
Yeah, like all the things. Like I guess I don't know. Who am I to judge? Who am I?
I don't think you're judging.
No, I know. I think I was just saying it to say it.
Okay.
And award women of very only science-backed implants and call your first order.
That's an ad.
Innocent little child that had no other outlet of survival except for these two humans, and they chose not to give you a place of safety or a place of anything. Like it is so selfish to bring a child into an environment that can, like, you can't take care of them. You aren't taking care. She probably fed you whole milk.
I don't know that she fed me any milk.
Or water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that fucking scares me.
Yeah.
And that pisses me off. I don't think people should freely be able to have children.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't not that I don't wish you weren't here, but I don't think that they should have had children, and I don't think that they deserve you now, and I don't think you're going to get any closure out of it, but I hope I'm wrong. I tell you my feel, like, I know you're going to do something, and I fully support you doing something.
I can't picture myself going to his funeral. So, like, my sister said she'll probably go to his funeral. Like,
yeah.
I can't picture myself going to my mom's funeral, my dad's funeral, but I can picture myself right now. I can picture myself going down to Texas, talking to him, trying to get answers, and then that's my closure. But I do not have any plans to see him in a funeral. What is it called when you go when they're like viewing, wake? I want no parts of that. Yeah. I do not give a fuck where you end up. I just need to know these things. I just haven't really, because I found out last night. Yeah. I want to come up with like a list of questions because there's so many things that I want to know, but I can't picture myself going to his funeral. And then I feel bad because then it's like, okay, if my sister goes to the funeral, I want to be there to support her because her mom already passed away, but I don't want to go to his funeral.
I don't think you need to go to the funeral. I think that you do, like, knowing you as a person, I think that you do need to, like, vocalize to him. in my mind, I just see it turning into like an emotion, like very emotional thing for you. Like, I think you're going to see him and get really emotional and like try to say things. And it just might be an overwhelming experience for you, which is fine. Like, that's totally fine. I don't think like you're going to avoid that kind of happening. But that's a lot different than just showing up to a viewing, because the viewing is, I don't know, does he have family left? Like, does
his sister, my cousins.
I don't know. I feel like viewings are more for family than it is for the person.
I'm not going to a funeral, a viewing, nothing.
Yeah. You could even just be around in the area for your sister, right? Like, let her go in and then like go and grab a bite to eat after together, or if like you want to be able to support her in that way. I'm so interested to know what you end up doing though.
I have just like felt like an orphan my whole life. My sister's really going to be one. But because my dad didn't do what he should have done, I don't get to have that sort of relationship with her. So like I can only be there for her a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Who knew that today was going to be so tearful?
Where's trivia? Kayak.
There's some type of silver lining that your dad never gave it to anyone. Like, no one ever got a good dad out of him, right? Like
you think I would be more resentful if he would have stayed with my sister and
had a family? Yeah.
No, because I don't like. I look at. Maybe, but I also would be like, okay.
He's incapable of being a father. And that's like a lot different than like him being capable and him choosing not to give that life to you.
But I do also recognize that like, if that was the case, right? Like, because he did stay with my sister until she was 5. My mom had the resources to keep him away. And so if that was the case, and then like my sister's mom didn't keep him away, like I do think that there's like a gray area where maybe he was a good dad, but to your point, like he hasn't fathered any of us.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just, because then it's bringing up feelings about my mom that I also didn't intend to happen, right? Like hearing about Raymond. And then I'm like, my first thought is like, do I tell my mom? And like, it doesn't really, shouldn't matter to her, but also.
It's really unfortunate when people like your birthing parents or biological parents have someone like you, because they don't deserve that. Like, they don't deserve the emotions and the empathy that you just naturally have for them and that you give to them. And like, they just live this life. I mean, I don't know. I'd love to have a fucking conversation with them. Can I come to Texas?
So, we're going to take a little bit of a pause here because, then we introduce the subject of her mother, Susie, right? So Kail already has these complicated feelings about her deadbeat dad and having to be the one yet again as his daughter to reach out and get in contact with him, to see him and everything and to beg him for answers. And now she kind of wants to talk to her mom about this. And she thinks that her mom deserves to know that the guy that she created a child with is about to die. However, she's got no contact information of her mother's, right? I think she and her mom fell out when her mom got drunk when she was supposed to be watching over Lincoln. And then something else happened after that. I remember her mom calling her on the phone while she was getting her hair done for something. And then Kail being really upset and hanging up on her. But I forgot what that was about. And that was after the babysitting situation, right? But she's in no contact with her mom since Lincoln was a really small baby. So, it is sad, right? That she's grown up feeling like an orphan her whole life. Meanwhile, both of her parents are alive. It's just that they really have orphaned her as far as parenting goes. It's a very, very complicated situation. And I do feel for her. I really do. Like, I do not envy her situation at all. I would hate to be in this position. And I think that it is incredibly unfair that they both put her in this situation, right? As the child, because why is she the one that has to reach out to these people and to get in contact with them? Like, she's their daughter. Anna says, hospice is an emotional beast. I don't think she's aware of what she'd be signing up to. And that's what I'm thinking too. Like, it's a very, very difficult, shocking, emotionally charged place to see somebody, right? In a very vulnerable, weak position. And especially somebody you haven't seen and who hasn't been there for you. Like, the amount of anger, the amount of resentment, the amount of disappointment that would all come out because you're seeing that this person's at the end. And they never made the effort up until the end, even like on his deathbed. He didn't go and say, hey guys, go reach out to my children. Like, this one you can find easily. She's on the TikTok. She's on, she's everywhere. You can find this one. No, it's like, he doesn't care. And that is really, really freaking devastating. Jess says, I find it interesting that her father's dying and hadn't made an effort to reach out to Kail. Exactly. Listen, love her or hate her, like this is sad, this is tragic, and this is unacceptable. Her father had no business creating as many children as he did, let alone one. Same with her mother. Like, this is unfair. No child deserves to feel this way or to grow up this way. Tripp says, so she wants a DNA test to tell a dying man that his dad isn't his dad. Odd. Well, when you put it that way, it is a little bit interesting, right? Like, somebody else said that she could just go to the Lowrys, right? S said that. Why not just go to them? Ask them for the DNA test, because you have these suspicions. You've seen this thing on Ancestry, and see if they'd be open to it, right? Who did you see on the Ancestry? Can you reach out to that person on the Ancestry? Listen, I don't participate in these things, these DNA cheek swab, like, build your family tree online. But if any of you guys do, I have a question. Like, if they find that you connected to somebody else who put their DNA in the database, do they give you guys the opportunity to message each other? Because I remember dating somebody whose relatives did this, and then they found out that somebody had like an affair baby this way, because they're like, wait a minute, how are you in my family tree? I know this person. This is my uncle or my whatever. And he only has 2 kids. Why are you showing up as his kid or something like that, right? So are people not able to like communicate like once they kind of match as a family member? One says Ancestry is out here exposing family secrets and incest left and right. Exactly. Listen. And on top of that, they're selling your data, your DNA data, guys. Like, be careful with those sorts of things. I don't mess with them. Listen, the only people who can have my DNA are my freaking like Apple with my face, my thumbprint. But yeah. Jess says, does Kail really have any other family besides her kids? She obviously not close to either parent. You know what? It seems as though she and her sister, based off this episode, they've made amends. Remember, they tried to be friendly with one another, and her sister does live in Texas, which is where her father still is. This was something that played out on Teen Mom. They had connected, they built a friendship, and then her sister was supposed to go to her, or she's supposed to go to her sister, but then her sister was bit by a dog, and Kail found that to be a ridiculous excuse, even though the woman had to get stitches or something. It was a bad bite, and they fell out over that, right? I think her name is Michaela. But thankfully, they were able to make up, and now they are trying to support each other through this complicated time. Lex says, I don't understand how women get in line to have more babies for men who already have a harem. My friend had this dude's 8th baby, and I almost fainted, and it's her first. Listen, low self-esteem. For those of you with kids, please, 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 especially your daughters, instill self-esteem in them. Teach them to love themselves, because the things that we see as reality television watchers, right, or as observers of people, right, which is what I think we are. Anybody who loves reality TV, who loves like these talk shows and stuff, we like observing people and seeing. The number one thing I'm seeing about people, especially women, is that a lot of women don't have self-esteem, and that's how they end up in these situations. And it's very, very sad. So that's like the most important thing you can instill in your children. Nikki says, my husband doesn't know his bio dad and refuses to entertain the idea of meeting or talking to him. And I understand, right? Like, there's just so much emotion built up in that. And sometimes, you kind of want to let sleeping dogs lie and not to stir things. Like, you really never know like how those things will affect you moving forward. And if you've already made amends with the fact that a person abandoned you or whatever, like, maybe it's best to kind of just leave things as it is, like, depending on what type of person you are. And it seems like that's where he falls into the spectrum. And so, I totally respect that. Tripp says, why does it even matter? It kind of feels like an attempt at revenge. Oh, you abandoned me? Well, your dad wasn't your dad. Well, you know what? I don't know. Like, she said something about like the last name Morris or whatever. And remember, Kail has an obsession with last names and names in general. So maybe she's considering changing her last name to Morris. Imagine she gets somebody else from this family to do a DNA test, right? And then she finds out that she is technically a Morris, even though they have no relation to the Morrises outside of blood. Is she going to pop up here calling herself Kail Morris? I don't know. She might. She was trying to change her last name to her mom's last name too, right? Like, very, very strange stuff. And you guys, like I told you earlier, Becky is about to drag the hell out of Kail's dad as well. So you guys are going to have to listen for that as well. It is just woof. Listen, he deserved it though, but she dragged him. She went in. Winnie the Cat says, I had a brother through my dad who he never took responsibility for. We ended up meeting in high school, but years later he did the DNA and got hits from on the family. He said he wasn't able to message them. Oh, he wasn't able to. Okay. Well, I thought you were able to, because I'm hearing stories about people getting in touch to kind of like figure out where the hell this person came from, right? When they thought this family only had this many kids or something like that. Like, that's crazy, you know, and hoping that your brother is doing well as well. Winnie the cat. Listen, like I said, you guys, there's a lot more to listen to in this particular episode. So let's go ahead and see what else they had to say.
Maybe you could say the things I can't.
Maybe. It's just so it's really like, I've said this a million times on this podcast, but like, I forget the life that like you were raised in, and anytime you speak towards your childhood, it like is really painful to hear. As some, like, it just reminds you how bad like the world can be and how bad people can be. And like, you were a child, like you didn't deserve literally anything that happened to you, and that is not fair. And I don't think that, I don't know if do you think that they have any sort of regret of it?
No,
or like,
that's like the hardest. Like, I want to know like how you walk through this life knowing that you did not contribute even a little. Like, I never got a birthday card. I never got a call. I never, like, I wondered, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, in my head, I always was like, my dad knows how bad my mom is. He's saving up his money and he's going to come rescue me from this living hell. And I just kept telling myself that, like, around 13, he's going to come. He's going to come get me and I'm never going to look back. That's what I thought was happening.
That's devastating.
That's so disappointing.
That's what I thought.
That's really sad.
yeah.
And then he never came.
I need to go to bed. It's fucked.
So maybe I'll just tell him that story.
I just like the thing that I'm having a hard time with when I think of your dad, I'm thinking of like a uneducated, unhealthy, like a being of a person that is just like so dumb.
I mean, that's the vibes I got in real life.
That's what and like that's in my like, and so how can someone even have a conceptual thought? Like how can someone that stupid, that ignorant, that blind, that empty of a human have any type of thought, right? Like,
yeah.
Can he even produce anything in his head that would give you, like, I don't know. Like,
you're saying all of those things to say you don't know that I will get the answers because of that?
Yeah, like, I just think he's illiterate. Like, that's what I think of. Like, I think that he wouldn't pass a first grade test, but I don't know him. I know nothing about, like, does he have a job? Does he work? That's what I mean. Like,
I don't know him to have had a job my whole life.
Has he left his house? Has he, like,
never?
But in my head, that's what I think of when I think of him. Just from the clips from TV.
We played a clip of him last night. Was it last night? 2 nights ago. We played a clip of him. And everything that you're saying describes him.
Like what does he know how to read? Like, I don't know. Like, it's not even being like funny. Like this, like, does he know who the president is right now? Like,
yeah.
Like, when I think of this man, I just think of someone that lives in this sheltered world of like not knowing love, not knowing friendship, not knowing family, not knowing anything. And so like, how can someone like that be capable of having any type of intellectual conversation?
No, he's never going to have I think what you're describing to me is so spot on. And I think that you're right. I'm probably not going to get the answers that I want.
But like, that might be closure for you too. Like talking to him.
Does it make it okay that he's like not capable to have these conversations?
No, it doesn't make it okay at all. But like, you might get some closure in that like, you might go there and be like, holy, like, because right now, all you have is your thoughts. All you have is like what you can like imagine him being. And like, you might get there and be like, holy fuck, like, he's not even worth my thoughts. Like, this is like a miserable life that someone lived, and that's hell in itself. Like, I wouldn't even want this man in my life. I never wanted, like, he did me a service by not trying to have me in his life because he knows nothing, or he like not knows nothing.
I still just like think back, like, it would have been better to be poor with him than it was to live with Susie.
Or it would have just been a different hell.
Yeah.
So there you go, you guys. Again, very, very, very interesting episode overall. I was fascinated. I was riveted by this entire conversation, especially because I do remember seeing her meeting her father on the show and seeing how disappointing that was, right? Because like she's explaining here in the podcast, she thought that this man was off somewhere in Texas working hard so he can go and save her from her alcoholic mother, right? And then when she sees him, she says, "Oh Lord, like, dude, what is this? Like, you do not even have your own life together. Like, what a mess, And I saw Raven had left a comment that I wanted to respond to about why she kind of stopped visiting her father after that one time. But Steph says, Kail is struggling with an identity issue, feels lost. And that's what it feels like, when you feel like you're orphaned and both of your parents are alive, like, what kind of identity do you have, right? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. So I really do feel for her in that regard because it's unfair. There's got to be a lot of anger about that because how the hell did not one but two people decide to make a child and then neither of them can properly raise that child or show up for that child? And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe they have problems, but they never push past those problems to be there for that child. Meanwhile, Kail, she had a child as a child, right? As a teenager. And these people had her as adults. And they didn't step up yet. When she was a teenager, she chose to step up. Like, there's a lot going on there, right? And I kind of imagine that having your own kids as well, in one regard or on one side, it helps you kind of heal some of your childhood traumas. But on the other hand, it can kind of open up, some of these childhood traumas as well and really force you to look at them. And she's got 7 of them. So yeah, she's going through a lot right now. She really, really is. So Raven, the reason why she didn't visit her father another time, she did try to maintain contact with him. But this man who didn't even try to reach out to her, see how his daughter was doing, trying to help out his daughter, he agreed to meet her. And then afterwards, he asked her for money. So she's like, how are you asking me for money? I'm a teenager with a freaking child. Like, I'm living on freaking welfare and your grown ass is asking me for money. So she cut him off as she should have. You know what I mean? Like, he's garbage. He's garbage. When he says, Kail will likely be in the situation with Susie Q sooner rather than later, given her history with alcohol abuse. And unfortunately, I do think that's true. And I think that is going to be extremely difficult for her as well. Granted, she grew up with Susie, right? Unlike with her father. So I do think that whatever complicated feelings she's having now are only going to be 1,000 times more complicated with her mother because she actually knew her mother. This isn't somebody she's only seen one time in her life, right? And she has said that when her mom is not on alcohol, she's a fantastic mother and person. So I don't know, like, I think that in the case of Susie, like, she might even go to the funeral. I don't know, but it's so sad. And unfortunately for her in that respect, she's got nobody to talk to about her mom because she's an only child as far as her mom's side. Whereas with her father, she had her sister, Michaela, right? So they're talking about this together. They're getting through this together. And so, yeah, it's going to be really sad when it ultimately comes to that with her mom, Susie, as well. Nikki says, the more she talks, she's making something out of nothing. Why go through the stress and effort of calling her mom? I'm sure she doesn't care. She doesn't even care about Kail. And that's the sad part. I feel like she knows this intellectually, but maybe she's kind of like hoping that this could be something that opens up a door or sparks something in Susie, right? Like, maybe she's hoping that her mom is going to see that, like, her daughter is going through the loss of a parent. And maybe like something about that is going to like force her to step up in one way or another, like seeing the way that like her daughter's father never up until the end did anything for her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like she's got that little bit of hope in her that this is going to lead to something between she and her mother that can help mend their relationship. I see a level of hopefulness, right? Because again, she feels like an orphan in her life right now. And, you know, maybe she kind of wants that feeling to go away. Maybe she wants for a miracle to happen. Similar to 13-year-old Kail, who was hoping that her dad was secretly behind the scenes, scraping together his pennies to go and save her. Maybe he's hoping that, you know, Susie's collecting those Alcoholics Anonymous chips, you know, and tokens so that she could step up and be there for her as she deals with the loss of her father, you know, and again, devastating, absolutely devastating. Listen, y'all, don't have kids if you're not prepared to be a parent. You know, I'm so tired of people popping out these kids and traumatizing them because now look how their lives turn out, right? Just saying.